The material of the tilma of Juan Diego is soft to the touch. It is almost silken, but something like cotton. However, if you look at it closely, you can see a coarse weave of palm threads. Although the tilma has been around for approximately 400 to 500 years, its preservation remains to be miraculous. Many scientific researches have been done on the tilma, such as infrared photographs and inspections by experts. However, a lot of its physical properties still remain a mystery to us. One of them is that the painting has no underdrawing, which is the drawing that you do before you paint, and it has no overvarnish, which you have to put to preserve the painting better. The lack of these things should have contributed to the early deterioration of the image, but up until today, the image remains intact. The painting on the tilma is said to be from a miracle. It is said that the Virgin Mary appeared to Juan Diego on the hills of Tepeyac. When Juan Diego asked the apparition to prove that she was the Virgin Mary, she told him to gather flowers from the top of Tepeyac Hill. Although December was very late in the growing season for flowers to bloom, Juan Diego found at the usually barren hilltop Castilian roses, not native to Mexico, which the Virgin Mary arranged in his peasant tilma cloak. When Juan Diego opened the cloak before Bishop Zumaraga, the flowers fell to the floor, and in their place was the image of the Virgin Mary of Guadalupe, miraculously imprinted on the fabric.
The tilma of Juan Diego that bears the miraculous image of Our Lady of Guadalupe is a coarse fabric made from the threads of the Magi cactus fiber, which usually lasts no more than 20 to 30 years. And yet the fabric has maintained its structural integrity without cracking or fading or any sign of deterioration for nearly 500 years. It consists of two pieces of coarse cloth fibers of about 1.70 by 1.05 meters. It is held together in the center by a seam of thread made of the same material. The seam is visible up the middle of the figure, turning aside from the face. For years, the tilma was exposed to all natural elements without any kind of protection against infrared and ultraviolet radiations from the tens of thousands of candles near it and the humid condition, dusty and salty air around the basilica. Even though people were constantly touching and kissing the image, and the continuous manual handling of the tilma, including many different objects that touched it during the countless times it was subjected to scientific examinations, the tilma remained in a state of perfect condition. No explanation was also offered by scientists as to why the tilma is repellent to insects and dust. The rough material of the tilma has a lifespan of no more than 20 to 30 years. Several centuries ago, a replica of the image was painted on an identical piece of Magi cloth and it disintegrated after several decades. Nonetheless, during the almost 500 years of the miracle, the cloth with the image of Mary remains as strong as it was in the first day. Science cannot explain why the material has not disintegrated. In the year 1791, muriatic acid accidentally spilled on the upper right side of the tilma. During the period of 30 days, without any special treatment, the affected fabric reconstituted itself miraculously. In the year 1921, a man concealed a high-power bomb in a flower arrangement and placed it at the feet of the Tilma. The explosion destroyed everything around it, except for the Tilma, which remained intact.
Our Lady of Guadalupe has many surprising characteristics that we could have never thought existed. It is nothing short of miraculous, thus attracting attention and making it famous throughout the world. In this video, I will discuss some of these surprising details. First off, I would like to point out the temperature of this monument. The temperature of Juan Diego's tilma, made of a material that comes from fibers of the Mogui cactus, maintains a constant temperature of 98.6 degrees, the same as that of a living human body. How can a non-living thing such as the statue exhibit the same temperature as that of a living thing? Truly mysterious, isn't it? Secondly, I would like to point out the color of the statue. It is said that no sign of paint has been discovered on the tilma. From a distance of 3 to 4 inches from the image, one can see only the Mogui cactus fibers of the material. The colors disappear. Scientific studies have not been able to discover the origin of the coloration, nor the way the image was painted. They cannot detect vestiges of brush strokes or any other known painting technique. NASA scientists confirm that the paint material does not belong to any known element on Earth. When the material was further examined under a laser ray, it was also known that there is no coloration on the front or the back of the cloth, and that the colors hover at a distance of 3/10 of a millimeter over a cloth without touching it. The colors actually float above the surface of the tilma. Isn't that just amazing? Lastly, I would like to discuss Our Lady of Guadalupe's durability. It is said that the rough material of the tilma has a lifespan of no more than 20 to 30 years. Several centuries ago, a replica of the image was painted on an identical piece of Mogui cloth, and it disintegrated after several decades. Nonetheless, during the almost 500 years of the miracle, the cloth with the image of Mary remains as strong as it was on the first day. Science cannot explain why the material has not disintegrated. Here are a few examples of these monuments being strong and somewhat indestructible throughout the years. In the year 1791, muriatic acid accidentally spilled on the upper right side of the tilma. During the period of 30 days, without any special treatment, the affected fabric reconstituted itself miraculously. In the year 1921, a man concealed a high-power bomb in a flower arrangement and placed it at the feet of the tilma. The explosion destroyed everything around it except for the tilma, which remained intact. Our Lady of Guadalupe is truly a symbol of fortitude and mystery that stands up to the present. Just like this monument, may our faith stand firm and strong as well, despite the many mysterious things that surround it. Some things just need not be explained anymore.
Were human and looking at him. We have numerous people captured microscopically in the recesses of the image of the eye. This is undeniable proof that the image is miraculous. Only God could have done this.
As described in the video, one of the most striking things that you will see on the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe is her eyes. The eyes of the image show people, reflections of people. What makes these reflections so amazing is the fact that they are so minuscule and they are distorted exactly the same way our eyes distort images as we see them. This shows that this image was not, in fact, made by a painter, but is a result of a miracle. We now know that the eyes of Our Lady of Guadalupe contains images. The question is, what are these images? After being examined and re-examined many times by various professionals of different scientific fields, it can be concluded that these images are related to the unveiling of the tilma for the first time. The first image that is noticeable is presumed to be Juan Diego, the one who found the tilma. The second image that we can observe in the eyes of Our Lady of Guadalupe is one of a bearded man, presumed to be Bishop Zumaraga, who Juan Diego allegedly showed the tilma to immediately after he saw it. Aside from those two figures, the eyes of Our Lady of Guadalupe contain many more. In fact, there are up to 13. The first other image is one of an Indian man. So he's sitting down and looking up with reverence. There is also a young man who is presumed to be the translator of the bishop. Also seen in the eyes of Our Lady is a woman who was formerly a slave that was in the service of the bishop. There is one man who cannot be properly identified, and he is seen to be of Spanish descent and looking on as Juan Diego unfurls the tilma. The last image is that of one of a family with a mother, a father, and sets of children. And as I said before, these images are extremely tiny. They are so tiny that they are estimated to be 1/100th of an inch large.
Moreover, ophthalmologists have testified that even though they are opaque, both eyes in the image show depth and become filled with light when the ophthalmoscope's light is trained into them. They have asserted that it would be impossible to produce with paint such perfectly placed reflections in eyes offering so little space, with a Virgin looking down, and on such rough material as the tilma.
Signs and Wonders of Our Lady of Guadalupe. There are many events where Our Lady of Guadalupe image has shown signs and wonders. It exhibited activities that are beyond normal, like having a heartbeat, flicking rose petals from the image, and crying tears of water, oil, and blood. On several occasions, the image has wept tears of oil. Once it wept on Christmas Day before the entire congregation. The priest told them Our Lady is weeping on her son's birthday for all of her children who have no birthday because of abortion. Many people have felt the heartbeat of an unborn child in Mary's womb on the image. This has even been confirmed by a nurse with a stethoscope. Our Lady is teaching us that abortion is about a child and not a choice. One event happened in Wichita, Kansas, The missionary image visited an abortion center where late-term babies are being killed and cremated in an incinerator on the premises. As the image was processed around the killing center, people smelled a strong fragrance of roses. Then they saw rose petals miraculously flaking from the image in all directions. An eyewitness to this extraordinary event experienced an overwhelming peace and said that it seemed as if heaven had come down to earth and Our Lady was saying, "It is good for you to be here, as I too stood at the foot of the cross silently watching and praying as my innocent son was crucified." Another event was with local guardian Gail Carson from War Road, Minnesota. Reported that many hearts were moved to go to the sacrament of reconciliation by Our Lady. She said many healings of relationships took place, healings between a mother and child, a mother and daughter, even healings within marriages. When a talk was given on Our Lady of Guadalupe, the church was filled with the aroma of roses. Some people even reported smelling them outside the church in the rain. Later, as the parishioners venerated the image, one of them cried out. There were streaks of tears running from Our Lady's eyes all the way down to her womb. Another woman saw the image change into the image of Jesus, being condemned by Pilate. She sensed that this is how Jesus sees the aborted children, who, like him, are innocents condemned to an unjust death. Many tears have appeared on images of Our Lady of Guadalupe. The photograph above shows the missionary image crying tears of oil. Another image cried tears of blood, and an image distributed by the missionary image apostolate cried tears of roses. Why is Our Lady crying? Pope John Paul II said, "These are the tears of sorrow for all those who refuse the love of God, for those families who are broken or in difficulty, for the young seduced by a consumer civilization, and so often disoriented from the violence that still spills so much blood, and for the misunderstandings and hate which dig deep trenches between individuals and peoples. They are tears of prayer and tears of hope, which melt the hardness of hearts and open them to meeting Christ the Redeemer, source of light and peace for individuals, for families, and for the whole society."